Ino, a beautiful crystal katana gift to him. But by Ino, the list just kept growing. He eventually gave up and slid against the wall of his house as he slid the warm cup of tea shattering against the ground, representing his heart and shattering against the ground, tracking in his knees and sobbing, sliding into his hands, eventually choking out what he had asked himself. And God so many times, why me? If you were looking out deep in the forest of Konoha, you would have noticed the large building in the middle of the dangerous forest. If you were to reach the large marble building, you would have need a special asset card, not to mention a fingerprint. However, if you ignore the beating sun and the annoying animals that seem to creep in every corner, you would have to notice a man. He walked in a brisk, fast pace with a determination look on his face as he reached the building. He scanned his fingerprints. He entered the building. The room he stood in was murk dark, uncared for. It was full trap. The smell and almost unbearable. This room was made to sense people away, eliminate their curiosity, as if he was planning. He lighted up the trap and pulled open the large red room at the other end of the room. As he entered, the air was clean against and no smoke was in the area. This room was the size of the ballroom and literally was vault furniture and marble floors showing that this was a place for rich and powerful, the strong ones. Large thrones sat at the top beautiful marble stairs. You could have been beautiful woman sitting there, her medium large hair and bright color could bring any man to follow her orders. As she stood from her chair, she walked elegant down the cream color steps, her high heels. The only sound, the quiet room, if you weren't filled with enough insecurity to make you jump off the cliff from her eyes. You could look at the rest of her. She had blood red eyes and perfect skin. Her eyes were full of bloodlust, and she wore red lance dress that swished around her feet. She wore a grim green pants and golden bracelets. Her heels were silver, and two sighs were trapped on her thigh. Her blood red lips parted as her asked million status. Even her voice was full elegancy and beauty, but in her heart, all the glooms of darkness, blood you wish to be spilt shall be, stained with all those marble floors. Soon, melody, God, or else I would kill you myself. Her voice pranced across the man's neck and shivered before returning in his hungry sculpture. He loomed down the prince of his woman. He wanted her. It was like he was hypnotized. Snapping out of her gaze, he saw a beautiful woman approaching her. I see you like my beauty. You're hungry for it, she whispered seductively in her ears, her arms wrapping around his neck gently. The man lusted to take over. As he resists the urge to pin the woman down and kiss her roughly, he killed them and lips. May touch your soon. She breathed, tracking her lips with her finger, sensing what he was thinking. Yes, ma'am, he yelled excitedly as he seduced her. Now go before I spill your blood, she yelled angrily, waving the man away. Oh, poor Naruto. He doesn't know what's coming his way. Fine. Bloodbath sits her vials down quietly. She was happy that she had caught the murderer, but yet something in her stomach was nodding, telling her she was wrong. Deciding Nifox would give her proper advice. Ignoring the feeling growing in her stomach, she slid her flats after doing so. She head off doing the roads. While walking, she picked up some ramen for herself. Nearby ramen store, Ikiraku Ramen. As she picked up some ramen for Nifox and herself. Following the leaf swing path to Nifox's house, she felt a feeling growing more in her stomach. She was had to talk to someone, yet she chose Nifox. Why did she? She considered Nifox a friend, as her thin lips tucked into her smile. She strictly told herself, he's my friend, and I know he'll know what to do. And as her self belief in Naruto grew, she caught herself saying, I believe in him because he can do anything. Naruto wept out loud. He cried, and sadness bearing in his hands. He didn't know why he bothered living or existing. Everyone he loved died or forgot him. Everyone hated him, and the villagers would be happier if he just left the world. As the riot grew closer to his house, Naruto continued to lay against the wall, losing his will to live. Tears still eventually on his sun-kissed skin. So as he began to, the door grew. He simply ignored it. Nobody needs me anyways. Naruto smiled sadly, closing his eyes, bracing himself for torture. He didn't even bother to see who was at the door. When it flew open, Nifox, a feminine voice, yelled. As Naruto's eyes fluttered open, Bloodbath? As he asked, looking up at the woman from his spot against the wall. Yes, you're handing? She gasped, expecting Naruto's hand. My hands? Naruto asked, looking down at his now bloody hands. During all his pain and suffering, he had forgotten about his shattered teacup next to him. The glass had cut deep in has been pain continuing to grow in his hand. As he continued to stare at it, Naruto looked up to Bloodbath, was worried, expected his bloody hands. You don't care that I'm wearing my mask? Naruto asked softly, afraid that if he spoke loudly, he would start sobbing again. No, you actually care, Naruto asked crudely. Of course I do, Bloodbath gasped. She was taken aback by the sudden question. She believed in him. He knew that's right. Yeah, right. You're just like the rest, Naruto sneered bitterly. Why? Bloodbath asked weakly. You made them hate me even more. You didn't know, but the boy you accused, Naruto Uzumaki, that's who I am. And you just set all of them against me. So, no, you don't care for me. A friend wouldn't do that. He finished, tears starting reform his eyes. I'm sorry, I was wrong. I was so wrong. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, but please forgive me, Naruto. I know I was wrong now. Now that I know who you are, you couldn't have killed Kakashi. You loved him. You talk about him all the time in Ambu. So, for the love of God, Naruto, please forgive me. She cried, bowing down on the floor to Naruto. She cried softly, hating herself for how much she had hurt the boy. It was her fault. He was broken. She. So, you really even care for me? Naruto asked, quietly, blood dripping from his hands. You would even protect me, he asked bitterly. He hid straight proceed against the wall, blood-red eyes watering, and broken boy. As she hugged him, suddenly Naruto was taken aback from the hug and injury. I was always protected you, Bloodbath wept, cupping her face. You will never have to worry, she smiled while he was sobbing, her forehead against Naruto. I'm so sorry, Naruto, she finished, hugging Naruto tightly. Naruto smiled softly, hugging her back weakly. Even broken boy can learn how to love. Naruto stand timidly in the stool in Bloodbath office. Was currently wrapping his hands with bandages with cloth and Twizzlers she had used to clean off the blood and picked the glass shard out and his hand sat beside her, staying her otherwise cleaning the table. Do you want me to clean that? Naruto asked softly, staring down at his swinging legs, which weren't yet touched the floor. It's okay. I've dealt with much worse on that table. Bloodbath smiled weakly before looking back at Naruto, injured hand. How long will it take to heal? Naruto questioned, examining his hands. About 2 weeks at most. Bloodbath spoke back, pushing her smile and ponytail behind her shoulder. Sitting in silence, it seems as if an awkward tense had filled the room ever since Bloodbath had found out Naruto, who seems ready to die. It felt as if either was roped in between them that could not be broken. Bowing the hair out of her face, Bloodbath looked up at Naruto, blue eyes, and began to speak. So you're hungry? She asked. Cold demeanor of an Ambu and return to a loving, caring girl. If you want anything I can eat, it would be pleasant. Naruto smiled shapely, playing with the end of his bandage. Alright, I'll make some food. Sitting on that bed and I'll serve it out when it's ready. Bloodbath smiled sweetly, trying to make mask the nervousness and guilt behind her eyes. Naruto nodded before walking to the bloodbath had pointed to. It had crisp white sheets and pillow with pink swirls on it. Rest his head on the pillow. He clamped his hands on his stomach and stared up at the ceiling, fighting the fear of knot in his stomach. Even after the bloodbath had served him, what am I afraid of? Bloodbath stared at the bowl of ramen, which was sitting on the stove, her fast hands working quick and spice of the soup, as well as chop of fruits on the side. Once the ramen was done cooking, she poured the content of the pot into a bright blue bowl sitting in the tray, placing the cup and fruits a pair chopsticks next to the bowl of ramen. She left the tray, walking out of the kitchen. Shutting the door behind her, she looked up at the tray, seeing Naruto laying on the bed, looking blankly at the ceiling. Hey, I have ramen. Bloodbath chuckled awkwardly, holding out the tray. Thanks, Naruto grinned weakly, taking a small tray from her hands. sitting down next to Naruto. They are in silence. The